Hey guys, hey, it's Anne Marie. Welcome to Bald Girl Travel Channel. On this channel, we talk all things travel, style, fashion, not necessarily in that order. I believe that style has no expiration date and that it is for everyone. So if you agree with me, hit the like button, subscribe, comment. Now, I haven't done a video in a while. I have been traveling. As you guys know, I took off for country 43, which was Poland, in May, and I spent about 5 weeks in Europe. So I wanted to do this video and talk to you guys a little bit about what I've been up to, about my trips that I was on, and then a little bit of things about what I'm up to this summer. And then I'll share during the video, I'll share some things that I grabbed while I was in Europe. Didn't do a lot of shopping, but I think I had some good finds that I grabbed while I was there. Now, it's kind of taken me a while to do video content. One, because I was traveling. And I did do some content and I shared some of the things that I wore while I was there. And I've shared a little bit of some of the places I went. And I'll talk a little bit more about where those were in a bit. But I'll be honest that I haven't really felt like making content for this channel because it's been, the news coming from my home country of the United States has been very, very depressing, frankly. And in many ways, it feels like everything that I have grown up to believe is disintegrating in front of me. And even though it's like I moved away from the United States 4 years ago because of what I understood was coming. But to see it happening in real time is still really difficult for me. And so I haven't been in a really upbeat mood. So, playing in my closet and putting on clothes and even, talking about my trips hasn't felt like the right thing to do. And I also am very sensitive to what other people might be also going through. So I haven't made content, but then I stopped and thought, now is the time to try to bring a little bit of joy and talk about the things that still make me happy and bring me joy, which is travel and getting dressed up and doing fun things, because life is short and it comes at you fast. And we all have to try to enjoy our time here for as long as we're here. Regardless of what else is happening, we have to try to find beautiful things because life is still beautiful. And so I decided I'm going to come and talk today because I feel like if I feel that way, others might feel the same way and might want to know about what I've been up to and where I've been. So I'm sharing that. So country 43 was Poland. After I left Poland, I went to Portugal to meet up with 4 ladies who joined me on a small girls trip, and it was wonderful. And I'm going to talk about that as well. And then after that, I headed off to Italy to visit my favorite city in the world, Florence, and then to spend some time in Bologna. I did a day trip to Bologna about 3 years ago, and I told myself that I wanted to return and spend more time there, and I'm very glad I did. But first, let's talk a little bit about what I've been up to. So since I made the video, this is the first video I think I'm doing since I did my live about my trip to South Africa, to Cape Town. And I have a friend that lives in Krakow, Poland. Some people call it Krakow, but the correct pronunciation is Krakow. That is how Polish people pronounce it. Krakow came from the Germans. And we all know that some horrible things happened in Krakow. That is where Auschwitz, the concentration camp, is located. And so Polish people like to call their city Krakow. Krakow. And so I am reconditioning my brain to say Krakow instead of Krakow. Krakow is a lovely, lovely city. And I found the Polish people to be incredibly welcoming, incredibly kind, and just a joy to be around. And the weather was beautiful. It was like my kind of weather, because if you know me, you know I don't like hot weather. And when I left Mexico, the town where I live, we were in the midst of our summertime. Summertime where I live only lasts about 2.5 months. Usually starts somewhere around the mid to end of April, and then lasts through the mid to end of June, and then rainy season starts and we get back to 70-degree weather. So right now we're back in kind of like fall weather here, and I'm thrilled. I do not like temperatures above 80 degrees. I don't. So especially my menopausal phase of life. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So I am not. I don't enjoy summer. Summer is probably my least favorite time of year. Even I'll take winter over summer. I don't like summer. So being in Poland was a lot of fun because I loved the weather. The weather was between like 75 and 80 degrees every day. It was not excessively hot. My friend told me it never really gets that hot there. It might get into the 80s, but it hardly ever gets, he said, above 90. So even in the summer months. So I really enjoyed the weather. That was the first thing. It's a very like modern city, but yet it has a lot of older like castles. There's a beautiful castle I went to. I think the castle I went to was Spisky. Was that the one I went to? I'll put the name on the screen of the castle I went to. But I think it's the Wawel. Actually, it's the Wawel Castle. That's the one I went to. It's absolutely beautiful. And it sits like right on a river. And there's a beautiful riverfront that you can visit, and you can see the castle in the background. I also visited a museum there, learned more about the history of the town and the city. I mean, it's a city, as well as the history of Poland. And I really didn't know really much of anything about Poland. So I really enjoyed that. My friend really made sure that I had a real, both a real cultural immersion where I got to eat the food. I got to learn about the town, the city. I keep calling it a town, but it's a city. About the city, and also got to learn a little bit about Poland itself. The things I loved the most was walking around the city. They have lovely squares and the vodka. Oh my gosh, the best vodka I've ever had. And I've had lots of vodka because vodka is probably my favorite spirit. If you love vodka, you must go to Krakow. There were vodka, like you could walk into, there are like vodka bars where you could just walk in and taste vodka. And then there was a vodka crawl that we did, that my friend set up, where we went to multiple places and tasted their vodka, multiple bars and places, people who make like small batch vodkas. And then we went to a vodka museum where we learned about the history of vodka in the country and how it's made and all of that. And I enjoyed every aspect of all those experiences, and I highly recommend them if you visit Krakow. The next thing that I really enjoyed was the diversity of food options. Now, I will be honest, I did not love Polish food. I tried a lot of things because I wanted to try things. I didn't love most of the things that I love, but I did enjoy the pierogi in certain places that I had. Pierogi is like a type of dumpling. And they have it stuffed with different things. There's ones that have meat. There's some that have potato and sour cream, different fillings, and it's boiled, or you can fry it, but usually it's boiled. I went to a restaurant called Aviv, as in Tel Aviv. It is in what is called the Jewish quarter of the city. There is not a large Jewish population in Krakow anymore for obvious reasons, but that was probably one of the best restaurants I've been to in a while, and the best restaurant that I went to in Poland in terms of eating local food. And the pierogi there was outstanding. There was like a lamb chop that my friend had, outstanding. The food was really good. So if you do go to Krakow, hit up Aviv, and I'll put the name on the screen. I also enjoyed just the slowerness of being there. Like on Sunday, a lot of places are open, but all the restaurants are open. So you can go and just hang out, and people are outside with their families. Was like a market we went to where you could buy like amber. I bought a beautiful amber, what would I call it? It's not a necklace because the chain part isn't available. I just got this part, but it's big. And it's lovely. I'm going to get a chain custom made for it. It's a necklace, but it's a pendant. That's the word I'm looking for, pendant. Beautiful amber pendant. I bought back a lot of vodka, I'll be honest with y'all. There's a caramel flavored vodka that I got that is just amazing. It's delicious. And I got that while I was there. The other thing I enjoyed was they had some really great wine bars there where you could try wines from all over the world. We did that. There was a really great dining, and y'all know I love a good meal. and pretty good shopping. I wouldn't say it's like shopping at the level of Paris or Italy, but they had my favorite store, Zara. So, I was happy and I bought a couple things there. What did I buy while I was there? I bought my vest, my blue vest, and I'm going to put up videos while I'm talking. But I bought this sky blue vest that I have been wearing the hell out of ever since I got it. I got it in the Zara in Krakow. But it was just a really lovely cultural experience. I did not know that Poland had been partitioned at a certain point in its history, and that what was the country? Let me just Google it real quick. I have my laptop here. There were two other countries that they divided it. Yeah, it was in the 18th century. It was divided into three territories by Russia, Prussia, and Austria. And it led to the complete disappearance of the Commonwealth until 1918. I never knew this. So when I went to the museum, I learned about the partition, because they gave you these headphones and you were looking at artifacts and different things, but they were telling you about the history, and I had no idea of it. So it was very, very interesting. As you may know, Poland was also invaded by the Third Reich under Adolf Hitler, and many, many people were unalived at the concentration camp in Auschwitz in Krakow. And there you can visit there. You can also visit Mr. Schindler's factory is also a place that you can visit. I did not visit either one of those places, and that was intentional. I was on vacation, and I just didn't want to deal with anything heavy. What was going on and what is going on in the United States was heavy and is heavy enough for me. And so that was a personal choice of mine. But I've been to the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. multiple times. So I felt like I didn't want to have another one of those experiences. So I did not. But it is a place that you can visit in Krakow. But I have to say that even if you don't want to do those things, there's so many other things to do for fun. I definitely think that you can have a lot of activities to do in Krakow. And I would say to give yourself at least 4 to 5 days if you want to have a full experience in the city. But 10 out of 10, highly recommend, right? After Krakow, I headed to Porto, Portugal, to meet up with the small group of ladies that were meeting me for my Lisbon, Porto, Portugal meetup group trip. And we had a time. We really did. Shout out to Tara, Wanda, Princess, and Karen. Thank you guys for joining me. I feel like I made 4 new friends. Tara and Wanda have been on a trip with me before, but Karen and Princess I met for the first time. And we just had a wonderful time. We all just hit it off like we had hung out before, and we just had a ball. We started on Porto, and I will say Porto continues to be my favorite place in Portugal. Other people like Lisbon more. I like Porto more. Porto is on the Douro River. Much of wine production in Portugal happens in Porto. Port, which is a sweet wine that Portugal is known for, is made in Porto, thus the name Port. And I just love it there in terms of the people. I love a winery, y'all. Anybody knows me knows an afternoon spent sipping wine and eating good food is like a perfect day to me. So we did a excursion where we went into wine country. We did a river cruise, went to some wineries, drank wine, had a lovely lunch at a winery. It was on our tour guide in Porto. His name is Paulo. Shout out to Paulo. We just had a lovely, lovely time. And then we also did like a walking tour of Porto where we learned about the history of the city. And we went to there's this train station that if you go to Porto, you must go to the train station. I'll put the name on the screen because there's more than one train station, but you want to go to this one. And there are these beautiful tiles. Portugal is known for these blue hand-painted tiles that they make there. And the entire interior of the main hall in the train station is major events in the history of Portugal painted on tile, hand painted on tile. And it's absolutely breathtaking. So we did that as part of the walking tour the first day. We spent 3 days in each place. So we flew into Porto. We did two nights, 3 days there. Then we took the train. they have a lovely high-speed train system. We took the train and we went to Lisbon, and then we spent 3 days, 2 nights in Lisbon. It was a short trip. It was like 6 days total, 7 days if you include the travel days. But we did a lot. So then we went to Lisbon. We had a free day. We knocked around together. I made sure they went to Belém and had pastis. You cannot go pastis de Natal. You cannot go to Lisbon and not go to pastis de Belém and have pastis de Natal. It is I guess, the national dessert of Portugal, and it's amazing. And that is the place to have it, which is the original place where the dessert was first made by some nuns. So we went up there and we had that, and then we spent our full day. We had 2 days in Lisbon. One was a free day where people got an opportunity to go off and do their thing. And I like to let people have a free day if I can on all of my trips. And the other day we went and saw some castles. Lisbon, the area in Lisbon is known Sintra. We went to Sintra and we had a castle day where we just went and saw a lot of the historic castles, and they absolutely loved that experience. I really enjoyed doing it again with them. This is not my first time to Portugal, but I enjoyed doing it again because the first time I went, I didn't go inside of the castle. I don't remember the name of it right now, but I'll put it on the screen. But we went inside of the castle in Sintra. We went to 3 castles in Sintra, but the most popular castle is Peña Palace. And the first time I went, I didn't go inside of the castle. I mean, inside of the palace. And by the way, a castle and a palace are not the same thing. I learned about the difference when I went to Sintra this time. We had a really great tour guide, and he explained some of this stuff. But there's several palaces and castles in the region of Sintra, because that is where a lot of the royal family in Portugal went, because it is cooler than Lisbon. Lisbon is hot in the summer, as a lot of people there are experiencing right now. We got there, and I think the first day it was like 89 something degrees, and then it was 90 something degrees the day we went to the palace, and then the day after that was a little bit cooler, but it was in the high 80s, low 90s, okay? But in Sintra, it's a lot cooler there. So they built castles there, and the royals would go spend summers up there to get away from the heat in Lisbon, because Lisbon is on the sea, but it does get hot there. But we went to Peña Palace. We also got to see the Moorish castle, and we went to, did we go to, we saw the Moorish castle, Montserrat. We saw Montserrat. We didn't go inside. We saw the Moorish castle. We didn't go inside. But we went to let me see if I can find the name of it. My laptop is open. I'm going to see if I can find the name of the other castle real quick that we went to, because it's called Regali area. It was beautiful. The grounds were amazing. Peña was beautiful too. Quinta de Regaliera. That's what I think is the correct pronunciation. I'll put it on the screen. Oh, one thing we did in Porto that I want to make sure I mention. We went to the grounds of a former castle. The castle has been torn down, and it was filled with peacocks. Oh my God, it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. They were peacocks all walking everywhere, lots of male peacocks. It's called the Crystal Palace Gardens, or Jardín de Palacio de Cristal. It is amazing, and it sits above the river, so it has these amazing views, and just the peacocks just everywhere, and they're opening up, the male peacocks, and they have chickens and other kinds of birds and swans and ducks and so on. But one of them ducks tried to attack me, y'all. It was gonna be a duck soup date inside of that park, because he lowered his head and pointed his beak at me like he was coming for me. And I put my glasses in my purse, because I was like, if I have to go fight this duck, I need to have my hands free. They were laughing at me, but I was like, I'm not about to get, ganked by a duck in Porto. But watch out for the ducks in that park, because they are not friendly. But the peacocks were just amazing. At one point, we were following a peacock. I'm trying to put it up here on the screen. And then he went into up into this area, and then he just opened up. Almost like he knew we were following him and what we wanted him to do, and then he did it. It was amazing. So definitely, if you're in Porto, make sure you go to the Crystal Palace Gardens. But back to Lisbon. we went to the castles, and we saw the major castles and went in and toured them. One thing I will say is Lisbon is the capital of Portugal. It's a major city. So it's definitely, Porto has a smaller feel to it. Lisbon is a big city, and you're either going to love that about it or not love it. Lisbon is beautiful. It is right on the sea, on the Atlantic Ocean. Um, it is gorgeous. During the tour, we got to go to, I think it was the most western point, what they say is the most western point of Europe. I think it's western. I don't think it's southern. I'm looking at it. Yes, I was right. It's called Cabo da Roca, and it's right outside of Sintra. We went there. We got to take pictures there. It was chilly as hell. It's so funny because where we were in Sintra, it was warmer. Then we get to this point, and there's a lighthouse there, and you almost feel like you're going to blow off the mountain at a certain point. It's wild. It is the most western part of mainland Europe, and it is quite breathtaking. So it's definitely worth seeing. And if you're going up to Sintra and doing a tour to Sintra, you should definitely have the driver or your tour guide. Make sure that's included because it is worth seeing. So we did go do that. We had we had a really good meal, actually. We went to this restaurant, and it was actually quite good. Because I have to say, I'm not a big fan of what they call Portuguese food. I'm not. There's certain things I like, but overall, I don't love the cuisine. It's not particularly. I'm American. But my parents are from the Caribbean, and I like my food to be seasoned, not necessarily spicy and hot with hot peppers, but I like my food to be seasoned and flavorful. And I didn't feel that some of the food that I had there was that, but there were things that I enjoyed. Like we had a lovely lunch by the sea in Porto that was very nice. Great sangria. I love the sangria there. I think they make the best sangria I've had anywhere in the world. Don't fight me, Spanish people, but I feel that way about Portuguese sangria. And I love, there's a dish called duck rice. I love duck rice. Now that is flavorful. If you are in Porto, make sure you have duck rice in Porto. There's a restaurant called Local Food that's near the riverfront. They have the best duck. I've had duck rice all over Portugal at this point, but I think they had the best duck rice I've had in a while. But a lot of the other, like especially the seafood dishes, not a big fan. Sardines are a huge thing in Portugal, as well as codfish. They love codfish, but I don't love the way that they prepare it. It's not my favorite. I prefer the fried sardines. It could be more seasoned, but that's the only fish that I've had there that I really enjoyed. There's a restaurant called the Prada 52. We went there for our last dinner. It's an amazing restaurant. They do all tapas, and their food is really good. But some of the other restaurants that I've been to in Portugal are not my favorite. I'm not saying the food in Portugal is bad. I'm saying I would prefer more seasoning in my food than some of the restaurants, especially the seafood. They tend to just do salt, pepper, garlic, maybe a little bit of rosemary on their seafood and even on their meats. And for me, that's not enough seasoning. So, as I said before, if you're Black, you probably want to bring some hot sauce and some Lowry's in your purse for some of these places. But there are places where you can go and have really good, flavorful food. And I just mentioned two of them. So if you're in Porto, I say go to Local Food. It's down by the waterfront, by the riverfront. And in Lisbon, I really like the Prada 52. And if I can find the name of the seafood place we went to in Porto, I will put that as well. Because I did think that there were certain things that we had there. Like I enjoyed the fried sardines that we had there. They weren't super seasoned the way I would make them, but I still thought they were good. So those were the meal highlights were the dinner at the Prada, which I knew the ladies would enjoy and they loved it. And a couple of us had dinner at Local Food as well, and they really enjoy that too. So we had a wonderful time. We really did. I really enjoyed myself on that trip. I wish it could have been, in retrospect, the only thing I would have done differently is made it a little bit longer. But it was 6 nights total. Yeah, 6 nights, 7 days, and we had a really lovely time. Um, what did I? So after that, I headed to Florence, and you all know I love Florence. I don't like to make any Florence slander, but I have to say, of all the times I've been to Florence, well, I wouldn't say this was my least enjoyable, but the weather was it was hot. Let me tell y'all, because I would never go to. I still enjoyed myself and had a good time, but I didn't have as much of a good time as I could because I didn't spend that much. I kept avoiding being outdoors, so I was indoors a lot in my Airbnb. I have a friend that has a lovely Airbnb there, and I stayed in her Airbnb. But it was so hot. It was an average of 97 to 98 degrees every day for the entire week I was in Florence in early June, like June 10. When did I get to Florence? June 10 to June 16 I was there. It was hot as Hades, y'all. I ain't gonna lie, I ain't gonna hold you. It was, and it wasn't just hot, it was humid AF, okay? So you weren't just hot, your clothes were sticking. People were walking around with those UV umbrellas. They had and it was packed. Still not as packed as it could be because I've seen it with more people, but they were the cruise ships are back in full effect, and they were crowds and crowds of people, especially during the day, and then it's hot as hell. It wasn't pleasant. Being outdoors wasn't pleasant. So I didn't do a lot of things that I was thinking I might do. And I really have been intentional this year about not just shopping for no reason. So I wasn't like out there just shopping like crazy. I didn't go to the outlet mall intentionally. Um, I didn't go. I was going to do a winery thing that I've done before. I didn't because I didn't want to be outside in 98 degrees. It was really hot. And a lot of the places to eat are outside. Thankfully, some of the restaurants have air conditioning and are open, but it was very hot. Now, I will say I had three actually. I was there for a week. I had some of the most superlative meals in Florence. I had a meal at a restaurant called Ciblio. It is a Japanese Italian fusion restaurant. It was featured on Stanley Tucci's National Geographic show. And when I saw it, I immediately went and made a reservation. 10 out of 10, no notes. If you are in Florence and you can get a reservation in there, and don't wait till you get there to make the reservation. If you're planning to go to Florence, make your reservation a couple weeks. Like, make it now. If you're going, like, say, if you're going in September, I say make it now. Because they were booked out when I got there. It's a small restaurant. The staff is all, like, the chef is right there. You can talk to him. They're preparing the food to order. It's amazing. Amazing. And actually not terribly expensive. It's like, I think I got a 5-course tasting. I did the 5-course tasting menu, and it was like €55 because it's like small plates, but so freaking good. And then I went to this restaurant called La Buscetta, and I had, and they're known for their traditional Tuscan dishes, and they are known for their truffle pasta. Y'all, that truffle pasta was out of this world. What I had, because I'm just one person, was I did like a half of gnocchi. They're known for their gnocchi and their truffle pastas. I did a truffle spaghetti, and like truffle carbonara is what I had, and on the gnocchi. Out of this world. 10 out of 10. I wanted to kiss the cook. And then I had one of the best glasses of Chianti I've had anywhere. I will put it up on the screen. My suitcase was packed, y'all. I couldn't get a bottle to bring back because I literally would have been like over. I don't think I would have been able to close my suitcase because I brought back like vodka. I brought back port. And by the time I got to Italy, I couldn't fit another large bottle with me. I overpacked on this trip, and I'm going to talk a little bit of some of the takeaways and things I would have done different at the tail end of this video. But La Buscetta in Florence, if you're going to be in Florence, make your reservation in advance. You can't just walk in, and have the truffle pasta and grab a glass of that Chianti that I just put up on the screen and thank me later. Again, a fabulous dinner. Then where else did I go that was really good to eat there? There's another restaurant that I always go to when I go to Florence. And it is in an area that people would consider sort of heavy tourist traffic, but it's not in the main square. Actually, you have to know where it is to get there. And you'll find tourists, but you'll also find local Italians eating in that area, which is how I found it in the first place. They do a Tuscan codfish. They do their codfish in this tomato sauce with like black peppers. It is outstanding. It is my favorite thing to eat in Florence. They know me there when they see me coming. That's how much I go there. Every time I go to Florence, I go to that restaurant. And so that's the third place that I would say that I went. I had really great meals, but I really didn't go out a lot during the day. I did work stuff during the day, to be honest. Um, because I was still recording, especially for my HR channel and stuff while I was traveling. But I tried to go out and eat in different places each evening. I did go out, have cocktails a couple days, and try to do. I did happy hour one day, but the whole time I was sweating like a bandit, y'all. I was having my limoncello spritz, but I was sweating like a bandit. So I really did not enjoy my week in Florence. I did end up going to H&M and buying this really cute floral dress, but I did it because I couldn't wear the clothes I brought with me. I did not expect it to be as hot as it was in Florence. It was unseasonably hot. It's usually like mid to high 80s, might be in an early high like 90, 91 in June, but not 97. Even local people told me that this was weather they usually expect by the end of July and August. It's not June weather. It was unseasonably hot. It was really bad. So I don't like to be outside when it's like that. So I really didn't do a whole lot in Florence because I just could not tolerate how hot it was every day. I would try to go outside, but I wouldn't stay outside for very long. Now, one interesting thing that was going on while I was in Florence was there was this ancient football game. So there's this historic form of football called Calcio Storico Fiontino. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's a type of football in costume that they play every year in the Piazza Santa Croce, which is very close to where the Airbnb that I always stay at. It's near the Piazza Santa Croce. They had closed off that whole area for that football game. Let me tell y'all, I went out one day going to dinner, and the teams were assembling for that game. It lasts for 2 days, and I'm gonna put up the video of them marching in their colors. And the police were out. They had closed all the cars, the streets to car traffic. The Florentines were outside, okay? And they were singing their fight song and chanting and coming down the street. And it was quite interesting to watch and amusing. Them people are very serious about that football game. It happens every year. During the time that I was there between June 10 and June 16. It happened that weekend. I think that would have been the 14th and the 15th. And they weren't playing about it. They were playing about it. And apparently, like, they put straw down and they play football, and people be bleeding and stuff from what I heard. And it's not a game. They're very serious about it. And I thought it was very, very interesting. It was crowds of people, but people play, they dress up in the same 16th century costumes that they did it in back in the day. And everyone comes out in colors. One side was in red and white, and the other side was in blue and white. But they were very serious about that football game. They were not playing about that football game. And it's more like, it's more akin to what we know as American football than soccer football. Because it's like rough and tumble. They're throwing themselves around and stuff. It's serious. But it was very interesting because I didn't know anything about it. And then when I got there and I saw they had closed off the square by the church, and my friend was explaining to me what it was and what it was about. And it was really interesting to watch it. So that was going on while I was in Florence, and it was hot as hell. They didn't play until later in the evening, like around, I want to say like 5 or 6. And I imagine that was because of how hot it was outside. When I say everybody was outside, they were outside. Them people didn't care that it was hot. And I'm telling you, I went out at one night and it was 7 o'clock and it was still 90 something degrees, like 95 degrees outside. And the sun didn't go down till about 9 something. So the days are, right now the days are very long, and it's hot as hell in Tuscany. And specifically in Florence. So if you're planning to go to Florence this summer, I'm telling you right now, take a UV umbrella, and I'm going to show you what I think you should take. This is my UV umbrella. I didn't have this with me because I didn't think it was going to be hot like that, and I wish I had it. I took this with me to Egypt, and it saved my bacon, and I wish that I had taken it to Florence. The other thing I would say is to take one of these fans that go around your neck, right? It goes around your neck like this, and this one needs to be charged, so it's not working, and then it blows the air up, right? I didn't have this with me because, again, I didn't expect it to be 97 degrees. When I had checked the weather before I left on my trip, it was in the low 70s, like high 70s in Florence. I get to freaking Porto, and it says jump to 80s, and by the time I got to Lisbon, it was 97 degrees. The weather's changed really fast. The other thing I highly recommend is carrying a bottle that has a strap on it that you can either strap onto something else or hold in your hand, and cake and water. Having an empty bottle like this is great because, and this bag, this breaks down and you can put the strap around it and stick it in your purse. The good thing about Florence and Italy in general is they have a lot of fountains with fresh water, fresh drinkable water that you can just get free water. You don't have to buy bottled water. So people carry cups and bottles with them, and you can just fill them at the fountains. The other thing that I used a lot was my nipple covers, because wearing a bra in this kind of heat is not a lot of fun. So I will link all these things to the description. These are things I think you need to have. You also need to wear clothes that are linen and cotton only. Don't bring no denim like I had. Don't bring like cotton poplin is another thing you can wear. No polyester, just linen and cotton, y'all. And the problem for me is I wasn't expecting it. I had the appropriate clothes for Poland. I had the appropriate clothes for Porto. Porto was actually in the 70s as well. And I was even okay in Lisbon, because Lisbon was hot, but it wasn't as hot as Florence. But Florence, I wasn't ready. I didn't bring any of my like little cotton dresses. I didn't bring the vest that I picked up in Krakow, and I bought another vest, an orange one, when I was in either Porto or Portugal. Those are too heavy. They're like these knit vests, and I'll put them up on the video. I love them. They're perfect for me to wear right now at home, and they're perfect for like anything up to 80 degrees. They're perfect. But when you get over that 80-degree mark, it's not comfortable to wear that. I had to buy a pair of black linen shorts because I only had a pair of hot pink ones. I had bought one linen set, and I wore that in Lisbon, but it's long sleeve. No long sleeves. In 97 degrees, even linen, you don't want to have long sleeves. So I couldn't wear the top part of it. I could only wear the shorts when I was in Florence. I should have brought, in retrospect, I have several like cotton, just loose cotton dresses, linen dresses that I bought at H&M over the years that are very similar to the floral one that I just put up that I wore. I would have just brought those dresses, and they pack very easily. I would have brought those. I had these tops. But actually, these tops are cute, and I love them for summer, but they have polyester in them. So once it starts getting above 90, these will stick to you when you're sweating. So these are good for like anywhere up to about, I would say 85, 90. But above 90, these are not necessarily the most fun thing to wear when it's extremely hot outside. I had denim shorts. Those are not comfortable to wear when it's 97 degrees outside. I had denim jeans. Those are not comfortable to wear when it's 90-something degrees outside. So I ended up buying a pair of black linen shorts that match, that are basically the same as the hot pink ones I have. And I bought that dress to wear while I was there. And then I had like a halter top that I wore. I had to wear my shorts because that's what I had. What else did I wear in Florence? So these were specific to Florence. I had a limited repertoire in Florence of things to wear. I made it work, but I had a bunch of things that I ended up not wearing. Like I had like this denim set, like a vest and jeans that I took with me. Never wore them because I think I wore the denim jeans. I wore the denim jeans a lot in Poland because they're like tailored. They look like slacks, but they're denim. I wore them in Poland. The MVP of my entire trip were my ripped denim jeans. I wore the hell out of them things because they are cool enough. to wear even when it's warm outside, except when it's like above 95 degrees. And they are cute enough that you can dress them up and down. And I ended up traveling in them because as I bought a couple things, I needed to make space in my suitcase. I ended up having them be my travel pants. I even wore them back on the plane, and I was able to do that, and they did, and I was comfortable in them. So these are like the MVPs. I got them at Zara. I think they have something similar. I don't know if they have the exact ones that I have, but they have something very similar. So I will link all the clothes I mentioned. I will link in my LTK. So if you're interested, you can go over there and grab them. These tops I really love. I have them in 3 colors. I got them from Amazon a year or so ago. They're still available. They're really cute. They're good for layering. When you don't feel like wearing a t-shirt, they're a nice alternative. I brought several like cotton tank t-shirts. Really glad I brought those because that's what I ended up wearing. Like I have an orange one I wore, my white one. I just threw those on with the black linen shorts that I wore and bopped around in those. I wore the other thing that's MVP was my silver Gucci crossbody. I wore the hell out of that because it kind of went with everything. So I wore it a lot. After Florence, I headed to Bologna. Bologna and Florence are not in the same territory. Florence is in Tuscany. It's important to understand that Italy is broken into regions because the regions have different cuisine and different cultures and customs. So Florence is a part of Tuscany, which is known as like a wine region, a major important wine region, among other things, culturally speaking, for Italy. And, you know, the home of art and other things is Tuscany. Bologna is part of the Emilia Romagna, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, region. It's North Italy. But it's only 40 minutes by train from Florence. So it sits in a valley, and I love Bologna. I went to Bologna on a day trip because I always was like, I want to have bolognese in Bologna. So I went there on a day trip from Florence and really enjoyed it. And so I was like, oh, I want to come back here another time. So I ended up spending a week there. Now, I will say, I don't think you need a week in Bologna. You could probably see everything you want to see in Bologna in about 3 days. But I was there for a week. I chilled a lot. The weather was a little bit milder. So it was probably more 90 to 95 degrees. And a couple days it was in the 80s. I got there and it was raining. And so the day I arrived, it was actually nice because it was like high 70s, 78 or something. And then the next day it was beautiful. It was like low humidity, 80 something degrees. I went on a walking tour. It was wonderful. And then the rest of the time, it was between 85 and 90, like 92. But it was nowhere as hot as Florence. Nowhere as hot as Florence. So I went out and did more things there. The other thing had really great Sicilian. I went to a Sicilian restaurant that was fabulous and had Sicilian food in Bologna. One of the things I like about Bologna is there's a diversity of food. And I'm saying Florence too. Florence you can eat really great Italian food in Florence, but you can also get other things. Like I didn't hit my favorite brunch spot this time, which is called Rooster Cafe, but you can have great American brunch in Florence. Bologna is very similar. They have actually a very relatively large Asian immigrant population. And when I say Asian, I mean Chinese, I mean India, I mean Sri Lanka, I mean and also I noted that they had a relatively large number of Japanese people there. And so you can also get really good Japanese food. I had pretty decent Chinese food. I had really good pizza. The pizza was mainly Naples pizza. So it's not Sicilian style pizza. It was Naples pizza, but it was very good. And the bolognese, they do not call it bolognese sauce in Bologna. They call it ragu. They do not eat ragu with spaghetti. You eat it with tortellini or you eat it with tagliatelle pasta. So if you go to Bologna, do not ask for spaghetti and bolognese. They do not do that there, and they will look at you. You know, Italians sometimes, depending on what you ask them for, will look at you like you have two heads. Like if you ask them for cappuccino after 11 o'clock in the day, they will look at you like you asked for their firstborn child or something. It's kind of similar to that. I went on a food tour where we didn't taste the food, but he took us around and educated us about the different kinds of food in the region and about the pasta and things like that. And it was very educational and interesting. And he explained, how they make the pasta. They make different types of tortellini there. They have the meat filled one. They have different cheese filled ones, different ones. And the most popular, I think he said, was eating the ragu with the meat filled tortellini. So I had that. I had the one with tagliatelle. The ragu is delicious. It's amazing. But I also went to the Sicilian restaurant while I was there. I also had a lot of pizza because I don't eat pizza a lot anymore. But there was this place where I had pizza. The other thing that was interesting in Bologna is in the 70s, the late 60s and 70s, a lot of jazz artists used to come and perform there. So they have a street that's kind of like a jazz hall, like kind of like the Hollywood Walk of Fame, but it's just for jazz musicians, and it's not as long and big as the Hollywood Walk of Fame area. But they have names of different, jazz musicians: Miles Davis. What was that other guy? Chet Baker. Like a lot of several major jazz artists had like markers on a particular street in the area. Another thing that I found interesting in Bologna was the architecture, and they have what they call porticos. They have the longest mile of porticos, he said, in Europe, and I'll put a picture of what that means. So one of the nice things about it is when I arrived, it was raining cats and dogs. I never really got wet because the place I was staying was inside underneath a portico, and so you can walk a lot through the city, and you're covered, and the sun and all that stuff, you're in the shade because you're walking through the porticos, and you just cross and you stay under the portico. So I really like that about the city. It's very walkable. They have their own version of leaning towers there right now. They're doing construction on it to stabilize them, so you can't go inside of them, and they had like a thing around it, but I still got some video of it, and I'll put it up. But you can't go inside of it right now because they're doing some work because it has become unstable. So the same company, the guy said that stabilized the leaning tower in Pisa, is now working on the twin leaning towers in Bologna. They also have a beautiful fountain that is dedicated to the god of the sea. And they have a similar one in Florence. There's a statue of Neptune in Florence that is really quite beautiful. There's a Neptune fountain in Florence. This one is quite beautiful as well. It was closed. They were cleaning it by hand. So you couldn't, there was no water running. They had a whole gate around it. So you couldn't really appreciate it in the way that you can appreciate the Neptune fountain in Florence. But it is really pretty. And if you go to Bologna, there's that major square where the Neptune fountain is located. There's a lot of restaurants. There's restaurant area around it. There is, Bologna is known for its university. It's one of the oldest. He said it might be the oldest university in Europe for sure. It was started in the 10th century. And the university is still a functioning university, and there's students there. But he took us to the old university built like the original university, which is like a library now. Beautiful. It's beautiful. The architecture is just outstanding. So I definitely, and then of course, you're in Italy, you're in Europe, there are lots of really pretty churches and so on. I'm not really big on going into churches, but if that's your thing, there was a church I visited during the tour that I found was interesting because it was like a complex of churches, and there was a cross that someone had been crucified on that was in one of the churches. And it was an interesting history that the tour guide was telling us about, and the architecture was really interesting in it. But there was another church we went to, and I was not as interested in that because if you go to a couple of older Catholic churches, you kind of see the same things inside of them. But the one of the adjacent churches to the main one, the interior was very interesting, and I will put the name of it on the screen. But Bologna, I definitely recommend it. I say if you're going there, to give it about 3 to 4 nights. You could do everything in that. Florence, you need a week at least. To really see Florence, you got to be there for at least a week or more, because just visiting the Uffizi Gallery to see everything in there could take a whole day. Then there's David. Then there's going into the valley and go if you want to do winery stuff. If you want to go into the Duomo, if you want to do some shopping, you need at least a week in Florence. But you could do Bologna in about 3 to 4 days, I think. And like I said, if you're in Florence, you might as well take a train, go up there. You could even hit like, I don't know if a day would be enough if you want to do some museums, and their city hall is really stunning and interesting too. I would say you want to be there for at least 3 days, 3 to 4 days to really like do Bologna and eat and do all that stuff. And if you're a nightlife person, they have a lot of nightlife stuff also there. And they have lots of good restaurants, and you can stay in a hotel there or at Airbnb. In Florence, I would recommend staying at Airbnb because hotels are very expensive. In Bologna, the hotel's a little bit more affordable. Bologna is definitely more affordable than Florence. And I stayed at Airbnb. It wasn't my favorite, would not recommend it, but I'm sure there are others. And if you're going in the summer, now that I've covered all the places I went, I'm going to give you guys some tips and some takeaways. If you are going to Europe in the summer, especially if you are going to Italy and you are staying in an Airbnb, make sure you ask questions about if it's not a house, and then most likely it won't be because most people live in apartments in these places, and most Airbnbs, they're apartments. Ask how many floors are in the building and where the apartment is located. Almost none of the places in Italy have elevators. Portugal, they do. This is specific to Italy. But you want to ask, if you're staying in an Airbnb, ask what floor the unit is on and whether or not there are any elevators. It usually will not be. And if they tell you it's a walk up and they tell you it's on the second floor or the third floor, ask them if it's the third floor or the top floor. Ask. I got screwed in Bologna because I didn't ask. I forgot to ask, and ended up, she told me it was on the second floor. It was on the second floor, but the second floor was the top floor of the building, and them stairs almost killed me. Make sure you ask that question. And I had to take my big ass suitcase up there, and it was not fun because the person wasn't there. You know, sometimes I've stayed in places and the host came and met me and helped me take my luggage up. Like when I stayed in Sicily, I stayed in this apartment. It was, I think, on the second floor or third floor, but the host came and helped me to bring my stuff up. This person didn't because they couldn't. They couldn't meet me, and it was for perfectly good reason, but it was still a lot. And if I had known that it was on the top floor or even on the second floor, I wouldn't have done it. I will do a first floor walk up, but no more than that. And so I would recommend, if you can stay in a hotel, to stay in a hotel in Italy. You'll have a better experience because even if it's an older hotel, it will usually have an elevator, but make sure. The other thing is air conditioning. Europeans do not value air conditioning in the way that Americans do. And so you want to ask, is there air conditioning and if you're allowed to use it and if there are any restrictions. Because you don't want to get there and find out that you're not allowed to turn on the AC for a certain number of hours a day and all kinds of craziness when you get there. And electricity is a lot more expensive in Europe than it is in the United States. And so people are always being careful about conserving it. And when it's 97 degrees outside, don't want to hear anything about conservation. Nobody's trying to hear that when it's 90 degrees outside. So make sure you ask questions about the air conditioning. Make sure you ask questions about where the apartment is located. Ask those questions before you get there. The things that you want to know, ask, and read the reviews carefully. And make sure you ask questions of the host, because sometimes people say good things and they don't tell you all the things. So make sure you ask those questions. So the Airbnb I stay in Florence is great, and I always enjoy staying there, but it belongs to my friends, so I know what I'm getting. But the one in Bologna, I did not enjoy. The only thing that I enjoyed about it was the location. It was perfectly located. I was able to walk pretty much everywhere that I wanted to get to very easily. But my stay was not very pleasant because the air conditioning did not work well, and it was a walk to go. Every single time I had to go up them stairs, I wanted to fight somebody. Um, and if you're going to Poland, you definitely want to do that as well. You want to ask questions about any apartment that you're staying in, because more likely than not, it will not have elevators, and you don't want to be walking up to the fourth floor. My friend lives on the fourth floor of his building. Now, he did carry them suitcases up and down the stairs for me, God bless him. But I still wanted to fight him every day when we were coming back from dinner. He laughed at me every single day because I thought I was having a heart attack every single day. By the near the end of it, I got used to it. And it actually was good because it kind of prepared me for Bologna. Bologna wasn't as bad because I had gone up them damn 4 flights of stairs. But it was a lot climbing them damn stairs. No elevator, y'all. 4th floor. And he didn't even live on the top floor of that building. So there was more flights after his floor. I don't know how people do it. But apparently in a lot of Eastern European countries, that is the norm. Right? That's the norm. They have really tall, like many floors, and there are no elevators. So if you are going to any country like Georgia, which I highly recommend, any of these places, and you're staying in an Airbnb, ask these questions point blank. Before you book, ask. When I stayed in an Airbnb in Portugal, it had one of the places I stayed in, both of them. Did both of them have elevators? I think one of them didn't. The one I stayed in Porto did not have an elevator, and it was on the 2nd floor, and I wanted to fight. But when I got there, the person helped me take my stuff upstairs. But when I had to leave, I wanted to fight. But the other place I stayed in Lisbon, I loved it there, and it had an elevator. The place I stayed in Sicily has an elevator. That's why every time I've been to Sicily so far, I stay at the same place in Palermo. When I go to Palermo, I stay in the same Airbnb because there's an elevator, and I really like the host. But do your homework when you're in Europe, because you may assume that there's an elevator. You should assume there's no elevator, and ask, and try to stick to 1st floor. Florence, my friend lives in her apartment is a 1st floor walk up, but it's a walk up, and it is a walk up. And I'm telling you, if it was more than that 1st floor, I don't know if I would be able to do it. So make sure you do that. The other thing that I would do, it was hard to avoid what happened in Florence because I was checking the weather, y'all, and it was not normal. So there was no way for me to know that it was going to be 97 and 98 and 99 degrees. There was just no way. And the reality is, there's no outfit that you can wear that you are really going to be comfortable when it's 97 degrees outside. You can wear things to make you less comfortable, but there's nothing you can really wear that you're still not going to be sweating and it's not going to be uncomfortable because it's 97 degrees and it's humid and it's like 100% humidity. You're going to be uncomfortable no matter what you do. And that's just the reality. And that's what Florence was like. So my thing would be like, don't go to Florence in the summer. I can honestly tell you, I went because I was in Europe and I love going there. So I was like, oh, I'll just pop into Florence. I'm not going back to Florence in the summer ever again if I can help it. I'm not doing it. After May, I wouldn't do it. Not Florence. I might go other parts of Italy, but I won't go to Florence. Florence was horrible. The weather was just not pleasant at all. Being outside was just not pleasant. So I would definitely say I would recommend going to Florence between after Easter and before Memorial Day, and then after Labor Day, but before the end of before the 1st of November, because by then it starts to get cold. But that's when I would say to go in off season. Thank me later. You'll enjoy it a whole lot more. And honestly, to me, all of Italy, that's when you should go, because it's so crowded. Everybody's there. Italy deserves all the things and the accolades and everything it gets. It's absolutely beautiful. The food is amazing. But summer is just everybody is there. Everybody, mama was down there, and it was only June. So I can only imagine what it's like right now and into July and August, and then the weather ain't going to be no better till probably the middle of September. It's just, if you can help it, don't go in the summer. That's my takeaway. Don't go in the summer. Portugal, Lisbon is the same thing. I don't recommend going to Lisbon in July and August either. It will be very, very hot in Lisbon. Then I've heard it's quite hot now, and quite crowded. So I just don't like being in Europe in the summer. Like in Western Europe. I think if you want to do Eastern Europe, it's fine. Like if you want to go to Croatia, you want to go to Montenegro, you want to go Serbia, Belgrade is quite nice. Those places, summertime, yeah. And I heard Albania is lovely. I still haven't been able to get there, but I wouldn't go to Greece in the summer. That's another place I don't recommend in the summer. Um, but Eastern Europe, yes. Western Europe, no, because everybody and their mama is going to be there. So that's a little overview of my time in Florence. Real quick clothing roundup. As I showed you the floral dress I got. I showed you the 2 vests that I bought. Did I buy anything else? Oh, I bought 2 rompers at Zara. I liked it so much that I bought it in both blue and black. So I bought the blue one. I bought the black one as well. I didn't do a lot of shopping. I'm really trying not to overconsume anymore. I honestly don't need any clothes. I don't need shoes. I still love those things, and I'm trying to wear my things, and I'm still going to show you guys things that I see that I think are amazing. Oh, I love these earrings. They're like the sister of the silver. I have them in silver, and I have them in gold, and I have them in black, and I love them. But I'm trying to wear my things. Like this shirt, I've had it for a while. I wear them a lot in the summer. I have them in brown, red, black. Highly recommend. But I'm not going to be running out. I'm not knocking the people who are up there buying stuff at Amazon and returning it the next day just so they can create content, but I'm not doing that. And I'm not encouraging people to overconsume either. Now is the time I think, to underconsume. And instead, I recommend that you shop in your closet. Make things that you have new again. And that's what I'm doing. I'm going into my closet. Y'all gonna be seeing a lot of stuff that you maybe haven't seen before, but they've been in my closet. I have a wedding I got to get ready for. I'm not buying nothing. I'm going to try to figure out what I can wear to that wedding out of my closet. I may ask you guys what you think of some outfits that I have. And some of them I haven't even worn outside. I just have them because I have to go for a weekend. And I got to assemble my attire. And I'm not buying anything new. I have enough, and I'm going to wear something out of my closet. And I will be wearing, whatever you see me over the rest of this year, honestly. My intention is to stick to what's in my closet. I'm actually going to be doing a closet clean out because I feel like I have too much stuff, and probably donating some clothing. But I am not buying anything else. Whatever I don't have right now, I'm just not going to have. But I will be still sharing looks, sharing things that I put together. I will, if they're still available, I'll share that. If they're similar things to what I'm wearing, I will share that. But I will not be doing any, I might see a thing here and there because y'all know, Zara, I do pop into Zara a couple times a year right here where I live in Mexico. There's a Zara probably about 45 minutes away in the city. And when I go to the city, then I usually go in there. And I actually have an outfit from Zara that I bought that I haven't even showed you yet that I'm probably going to wear tomorrow because tomorrow is the 4th of July. And there's this karaoke thing that I'm going to try to do tomorrow. I love karaoke. But they're doing like an Independence Day karaoke thing, so I might go to that. And I'm going to wear it, but I'll videotape it if I do actually go outside tomorrow. Or I might wake up tomorrow and change my mind and decide I'm staying home. So who knows? But I'm not going to be doing any haul videos probably for the rest of the year because I'm not planning to be doing any big hauls. I'm not. I'm like, I have nowhere to put anything else. And even when I clean out some things, I'm like, I'm over the consuming for consuming's sake. I feel like I have a great collection of handbags, a great collection of shoes, a great collection of sunglasses, a great collection of all those things. So I'm going to spend time putting things together, but I'm not buying new stuff. Okay, y'all can try to hold me to that just in case I fold on a couple things. Not saying I'm not buying anything at all, but I won't be doing hauls, which is meaning I'm buying multiple things all at once. I won't be doing any of those videos because I won't be doing any hauls. Okay, so that is it. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this video. Please hit the like button, subscribe, comment, share it with a friend. I've been talking for a while, so I'm going to stop now. I thank those of you who stuck with, and watched this entire video. But instead of doing a live, I decided to just do this video and share what I've been up to. And so thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in